So we can probably, for the next meeting, we'll get, some numbers on what it's taking off the tax roll.
Right.
It's, viable. Okay, that's the question we gotta get answered. Try to answer.
Right.
Okay.
But Jeff, if we get the front half, how are you gonna get to the back half?
It comes off Hill Street.
That's going up.
Yeah, it's got road frontage on top of the hill.
So what's the going rate?
I didn't know if it's gonna be down.
250 a square foot.
No, it won't be landlocked. I don't know if it'll be buildable.
It's at least that.
Realistically,
I know, Richard.
probably access isn't really good off of there, but there are landowners on either side of it that it could be boundary line adjustment into, I would think. And that's just we haven't, we aren't into, the footages and acreages and all that yet. That's something that's gotta still be discussed, but, it is, this is what we're looking at. It's going into a whole nother mushroom. But here we're going forward. The town justice said he would stay in the town office right now for another year.
I agree, we need something, so.
Okay. So we move on,
Fortunately, Jeff had the foresight several years ago to start a building fund. With the passing of Walter, everything dramatically changed. And fortunately, Jeff brought to the board, and the board agreed to start a fund, which was a very wise
Excellent idea.
So with that, it set us a little bit better,
Right,
at least for some seed money going forward.
right, exactly, so, borrowing.
So hopefully,
As much, yes.
and I did hear from Crown Castle today. They left a message. I didn't call them back. They're having discrepancies with the agreement with T-Mobile, which is another service coming on. But they think they've got it pretty much ironed out, but that's why we haven't been hearing anything from them to say, oh geez, I'd like to get that extra payment coming. But on Monday, Crown Castle and the town, they're gonna work at putting a meter bank out here and taking down the overhead wires and stuff, changing everything over here, so everything's underground to the town, to the cell towers, and that's supposedly starting on Monday. That's what we've got planned.
Very good.
So that's in the process, so that'll make an improvement here. It's gotta get, and in that same process, we're getting our generator that we've owned for 3 years. It'll finally set up so it'll be up and running. So that'll be another advantage. So, just things are, I guess, falling together or just falling. I'm not sure. If we get this all done here, get this straightened up, the overhead wires are a nightmare for the big trucks.
Yeah.
So if we get rid of that, and it's over the pond too, get it out from over the pond, and just, but that's starting on Monday. They're supposed to start putting that all in and change it over and spending some more of our money.
So the states wouldn't let you fill in the pond and make more?
Well, actually, the Army Corps of Engineers is a big job. Yeah. And maybe down the road we can, just to improve the area here, And it's, unfortunately, it's not being used.
Right.
And if it was half the size, maybe you could, you could have the rec committee have skating in the wintertime and stuff. It was always skating.
The insurance guy's sitting over there.
That's why we haven't said anything. But it's just a point, it could be a smaller pond.
If nothing else, look better.
You could do a nicer job of it, possibly.
Get some ducks, that'll be good.
Yeah, then who's gonna clean up the road?
Are you the heroes?
You got ducks in it now.
It's what it is, it's kind of a wet spot where we are. Luckily, we're built up here. There's swamp, on that side, the water runs downhill. That's all you can say. Okay, we'll head on and thank you very much, Dave and John.
You're welcome.
and it's still a raw sore. Okay, Bill, I see you in the audience. What would you like to bring to the board's attention?
Well, I have your insurance renewal.
Oh, he wants his money too.
I don't want any ducks.
Oh, you don't want any ducks? Okay. What about geese? No?
So I know you have a full house. I'll just hit the highlights of the program. It's great to see everybody involved. Our agency does extend our condolences for the loss of your supervisor. 6-7 weeks ago, we sat down and we went through the renewal. I'm just going to bring
You did?
We did, we're bringing the guys up to speed. We went through the renewal. Basically, other than vehicles and items that normally get changed, exchanged, moved around on the insurance, there really isn't any changes in the coverage or the program. Again, you're with the New York State Municipal Insurance Reciprocal. If you roll over to page 34.
He's going right through it.
Yeah, I told you I wouldn't take one. You know, your insurance last year was $30,974.32. This year, NYMER is asking you to consider $30,157.62. It's an $816.70 difference less than last year. Okay. Again, nothing's changed. There's been no reduction in coverages. Everything seems to be going pretty good.
Now, this is our second year with NYMER? Or
Second year.
This is the second year. So last year we paid an additional.
Capitalization fee.
Right. So that was in this 30,000. So actually we are up a little bit.
Well, actually, Friday, the board voted to give the members their capitalization back.
Oh.
So that probably will come back, because I believe you paid that in one lump sum.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, probably will come back in 2 separate payments. One this year, probably one next year. I haven't gotten the final word on that, but,
Right.
so they're returning the capitalization. Okay, and that's something they're doing, they have been doing throughout the year, throughout the last few years, I should say, with the long-standing municipalities, right? And so now they voted to return that.
Oh, okay.
So, you got a full house. I don't really want to go through the whole renewal like I have in the past unless you have questions.
Well, if there's not many changes, I don't know if we have to do much. As you said, the overall cost is down, but we did pay extra last year. And if we're gonna get that back, that's, you know, we'll be in pretty good shape. I mean, I think.
No, I was just looking at something. What is the capitalization fee? What is that?
That is money, additional money, because this is a reciprocal. That was additional money that was required for the subscriber agreement because it was a reciprocal. It's a not-for-profit insurance company, and it was required per the agreement. If you joined, you have to pay the capitalization. Now, you have to pay that capitalization every year for 5 years until it's paid up, or as the town chose, to pay it all in one lump sum. So when you moved into the NYMER arena, the cost coming into the NYMER arena, if I remember correctly, was including the capitalization fee, was still less than what you were paying in the open insurance market.
2 years ago, insurance I think was 37,000 in that range, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and that's why we paid up the whole thing last year, because it still kept us under what we had budgeted for our insurance costs.
Question.
Yep.
You just heard the whole, okay?
Yep.
What's our insurance liability versus the old house versus a new structure?
Well, and this is on my list.
I'm not gonna hold you to it, but just give me what you think.
So let me back up, and I'm going to tell you, you're looking at 3 different proposals. I don't care which proposal you choose, but you need to have me involved in the specification creation and write spec book. That's where I need to get involved. because I need to make sure you have the right language in the specification manual that you're gonna send out for a bid, right? And there's gonna be a few things in there that we're gonna have to really be careful. We wanna make sure the right insurance limits are in there for the contractor,
Right.
right? The second thing is we have to have really good hold harmless agreements and indemnification language that says if the contractor is working on your premises and damages the neighbor's property, we want language in these articles that hold us free and clear and the contractor steps forward, right? That's the first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is you're gonna probably use the architect's AIA documents, Architect Association of Architects or something. It's a standard boilerplate. We have to look at that very carefully. One thing I can tell you is that's going to require the town, typically the owner, to pick up an additional insurance policy called a builder's risk. Really important on a brand new building, because as a building is being constructed, it's not a building. A building is not a building unless it has an occupancy. I can't insure the building on a property policy without an occupancy,
Okay.
okay? So as the building is being constructed and as materials are being purchased, we have to cover that on a builder's risk policy. You see what I'm saying?
So like a rider.
Totally separate policy.
Okay.
Okay? But I've seen it happen, you know, you have a building that's 3/4 erected and a windstorm comes through and now you got a pile. You know, what do you do with that, right?
Right.
So we're gonna have to address the builder's risk, okay? New versus old, obviously, if you're going to insure the building for property loss, the value of that building is going to be higher, so it's going to drive the property cost on this policy up. Total replacement cost probably will be higher on a newer building. From a liability standpoint, obviously, something that's more code compliant and newer is always better. You gotta have to weigh the
Right.
cost of this thing, right?
Yeah. So we'll keep you in the circle for the bid process and stuff, so we get
Yeah.
the, needs in there that we need.
What I
So
told,
liability, and most likely, a new structure will be better than the old existing structure. But as far as replacement for damage, the old one would be less cost demanding than a new one.
the total insured replacement cost for the old is probably less than the new, right? If you looked at the total replacement cost on a per square foot basis, right? And so the other thing, and the gentleman didn't mention it, but, and it's running through my mind, if you're taking an old building and you're going to renovate it, right? I mean, that's one of the options.
Right.
Is that a single-family dwelling?
Yes.
See, when you're changing occupancies, when you're going from one occupancy to another, when you're going from single-family to an assembly-type building, that's going to require it to be brought to current code. I'm pretty confident when I tell you that. And that means from the ground up. So you have to take those into consideration.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things he was talking about, the 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. You know, that was, just you were here and you got to hear it and.
It's good that, I'm listening to what he's saying, and what I've seen a few things happen in these construction projects. One, we're never notified on the front side of the curve, right? So we don't have the language that we want, especially the contractual language, because that's a legal binding document, right? And sometimes things happen and we're not on the footing that we want to be, no pun intended, we're talking about building, but. Okay, so the other couple real quick things. I can tell you that, again, I went to the annual NYMER meeting. Right now, they just rolled over 900 subscribers in the state. By far, they're the largest insurer of municipalities. I told you about the capitalization. The other thing is I got news today that the online NYMER training program is now compliant with state regulations to do sexual harassment with your training, with your employees. So that's something that if you want to get down that road, we'll come in and get this thing set up so you're able to be, and it has to be done by October, I think, 9th or the 19th.
Right.
So, and I know you attended, Steve.
Donnie, back here in the front part of this, this existing building here is, replacement cost is $900 and some thousand.
Yeah.
And that's what it's insured for. So, I mean, that building would have to be insured for $500,000 anyway. Yes, Jim?
Can I just ask, interject a question in there? Typically, for a building like that, you would do what we refer to as reproduction costs, because we're talking about keeping the historical nature of it. So replacement costs and reproduction costs are not the same thing. Now, it's pretty easy to replace this building. It's pretty utilitarian.
Right.
That building, I think you would find, and I don't want to interject more than that, but I think you would find that the reproduction cost would probably be in the ballpark of 75% on top of the replacement cost.
So here's the way the insurance is going to work, okay? Because the building would be valued at $50,000 or higher, we would assign a property appraisal company to do a replacement cost estimator on that building, okay? And it would get rolled into, in addition to the replacement cost value, it's going to get rolled into an additional 1.9 million into the blanket. So at the time of loss, the total blanket, and it's, in this case, it could be 2.4 million at the time, would pick up any loss that you have over there.
And that's another advantage of having them separated.
Well, there's a spread of risk that separates it, but what I'm saying is the total blanket limit on the policies available.
Instead of
if there's a loss.
1.9, it'd be 2.5 or so.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Neimer's coming in Thursday for risk management?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many do I have to have? Just myself?
Probably someone from Highway.
Highway too? Okay.
Yeah. Who's coming in? Henry? Somebody.
Somebody?
Okay.
I got it written down
Fair enough.
to be here at 10. Yep.
I won't be here,
Okay.
but I don't have to be.
Well, there's good things come out of everyone.
It's good to see you. Any questions?
Bill has been really helpful and upfront, and I believe he talked to the village too, or going to or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Tom, and it's, I know he's from Sydney Center, but God, he seems like a pretty good guy.
Have a nice night.
You know, I mean, they've done a great job for us. You know, we've had people, now your Delhi office is actually,
Moving to Oneonta.
oh, they're moving to Oneonta. Okay.
That should happen, I think.
You know, they've had dealings with Oneonta and Delhi.
They're all coming over here.
They're all going to Oneonta, okay. Yeah, but I mean, they've been really good to work with, and, you know, been very pleased.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to see everybody.
So, thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay, so we need a resolution to accept MBT Insurance Agency's proposal. Is everybody, you want to talk about it more, or discuss it, or?
You know, on our equipment, we've gone through and lowered them all to real values. Is that, how is this insurance on the equipment? So say like this 2003 Mack is insured for 45,000.
Yeah.
When was that number put to that truck? Last year. So that's the real value of that truck.
So let me explain to you how that's going to work. Vehicles that are 10 years of age or newer are insured on a replacement cost basis. What that means is they're going to take the value that's listed in the policy, and they're going to pay up to the limit of the policy minus the deductible. Again, that's vehicles 10 years of age or newer.
Right.
Older than 10 years, it's on an actual cash value basis. So at the time of loss, the adjuster is going to come out and make a determination on the depreciation of that specific vehicle. And so we've gone over all of them when we put it on.
Last year we were,
Yeah.
when I first year.
So, just so you know, I just read a proposed endorsement by NYMA. Proposed means it's coming, it's not in force yet, but we'll be able to list all of your vehicles and contractors' equipment on an agreed value basis. I like that, because an agreed value, what that means is you tell us what you want to insure the specific piece of equipment for. I don't care how old it is. We'll put it on the policy, we'll charge the appropriate premium, and that'll, at the time of loss, you'll be, if it's a total loss, it's the listing in the policy minus your deductible. And I think that's pretty important, because there's a lot of things happening out there. I mean, trucks, the big thing with trucks and new trucks is we've had to deal with the emissions and the cost of, the 15 or 20% increase in the cost of the vehicle due to the emissions. And even though that, with that type of a policy, you'll be able to increase the limit on the policy. The other thing is you can have an older vehicle like your Mack trucks, right? And they're not really that old, but, they're not, I don't know what year they are. They're 07s, okay? So, you can actually put a value that you want on that Mack truck, and at the time of loss, that's what the policy will pay out minus the deductible, so.
Well, and it takes doing that. Like that, we're going back to the 90 Mack, valued at $45,000.
Well, look, this 99 Volvo at 105.
That was a new price on that.
Yeah, that was a new price.
Right. But, what you're doing there, if we want it insured for 100,000 or 45, that's 145,000 on the Mack, at least if it's a total loss, you're gonna get 44, I don't know what they do, it's $500, some of them are $1,000 deductible.
Yeah.
Whatever, but at least you're getting a return on your money. When it's up to the appraiser or whatever, he said, well, that truck was never worth more than $10,000 and we'll pay you 10. That really leaves it up, that's where I know our insurance, we did drop the value of some of the most of the equipment, even the cows, because they're not worth as much today.
Right.
But what you're saying they're changing to is that whatever the price is the town puts on it,
puts you in control.
Puts us in control, not the appraiser or the insurance company, which I think is a tremendous advantage for the owners.
Well, what that does is it allows you to protect your reserve accounts.
Right.
That's ultimately what it really does.
You don't want to abuse it, but you want to at least cover your ass.
An older truck that's very serviceable to us, that we use a lot, God forbid something happens to it, you aren't going to be able to reimburse us.
Well, there's a gap.
Right.
Protect
Where
your
if
reserve.
we set a value at it, when it comes to replace that,
Right.
we're in a better situation.
Part of your long-term plan.
Yes.
It just gives you more control. And when that endorsement becomes available, I'll be in and talk to you about it. But it's coming very soon. I read it the other day.
Right.
And so,
Well, it sounds like something that's going to benefit the owners.
yeah, definitely.
Right.
So.
Well, we'll see at a cost, but we'll see what it is.
And you're going to find, honestly, you're going to find that cost is very inexpensive. It really is, because it's not a lot of money to run these limits up.
Well, thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome, thanks. Good night now.
And have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Who's going to go to Gloversville? Am I right on that?
Fonda,
Fonda?
close enough.
Close enough, okay. Okay. I would like to entertain is there any more discussion on it? I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the insurance proposal of $30,100.
$57.62. I'll make that.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Bill. We'll get it second Tuesday next week. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Drive